Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. Welcome to yet another edition of International Forum. I am Wilson on Marshall. Since our policy was coming slightly behind schedule, we have to put two and two together in order to give you at least a near perfect show. It is all about the Ukraine-Russian war. There's been updates around there. Might have heard about the bombardment of the bridge, and of course the bombardment also of various cities across Ukraine, including the capital, Kiev. Yes, this is what will form cross of our discussion of today's edition of International Forum. Before that, let's pick on a story or two making rounds globally. North Korea, they are at it again. This is not the first time. It's not the second time. It's not the third time. They are testing their missile capability. Interballistic missiles this time around is well orchestrated by the supreme leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, and their neighbor South Korea, even Japan, also to feel the impact of this test. And this young man is not willing to stop. He is saying that he's going to make sure that North Korea is a country to reckon with when we talk about nuclear capabilities, missile capabilities, precision of warfare, and the man is so happy to display their arsenal. Take a look at that region. With a young man there in slow-mo, do you think he has something else in mind other than respect my country? What about the sanctions being meted on North Korea? Do you think it's going to deter this young man from saying enough right now? Let's forget about testing of weapons, or is going to motivate him the more to do what he said he's going to do? Coming down to the table of negotiations with big guns. What I mean big guns, nuclear weapons, interballistic missiles, you just name it. Knowing fully well that right now it's like the world is distracted because of Russia-Ukraine crisis, and this young leader is having a free day, so to speak. What do you think will be the response of South Korea? What do you think will be the response of the U.S.? What do you think will be the response of the West? And what do you think will be the response of allied nation? It's like a loose cannon right now, but he's saying he's doing this for the betterment of his own country. How do you think the world should respond? It seems like North Korea is just having a free day for testing their weapons. Moving on to natural disaster, two major disasters been happening. If you go across the world, you get to hear about the Hurricane 1 and of course the Hurricane Ian. You get to realize that this is the strongest hurricane so far that had hit the U.S. Talking about billions of dollars earmarked for repairs, earmarked to save the economy of some citizens in the United States of America. It's like a global phenomenon. If it's not a Hurricane Ian, it is Hurricane 1. It's just hurricanes upon hurricanes. Even Nigeria also having their own fish of flood, because right now it's like Mother Nature is angry. Yeah, and hence save the ozone layer. Hence work against global warming. Hence close up all those coal mines. Stop burning gases that is affecting our climate negatively. This is what has been the fear of the persons propagating, the fight against global warming. America, Japan, China, Russia, Germany, you just name it. Globally, the world is being hit by various forms of flood, or better still, hurricane. Lives and properties are being lost. Do you think it's high time we really take heed of what Mother Nature is saying? Our heart goes out to those people that are affected negatively by this storm, but Mother Nature shouldn't be toyed with. All right, enough of some of the news making rounds globally. Let's move straight down to what is happening between Russia and Ukraine. With me here in the studio, I have my reverend gentleman, call him my reverend gentleman. It's been a while since he's been here with me in the studio. Join me to welcome Reverend Humphrey Arega. Welcome, sir. I appreciate your coming.
I appreciate your confidence you still have of inviting me. And thank you, yours. I'm sure we'll have the best we can today.
All right. Yes, very close to him. He's a lecturer and, of course, a clergyman, a political analyst. Join me to welcome. He's also a reverend, too. Honorable Frank Amigo, welcome to International Forum. Appreciate your coming.
Thank you, Wilson. Good to have on stage together this afternoon. Thank you.
All right, Reverend, I want to start off from you. I mean, the war started since February. People like saying that it's going to be a one-way ticket, but right now we are seeing the good side and, of course, not so good side of the war. And, of course, the recent development is that Russia has gone berserk. They've gone berserk and they are bombing indiscriminately some cities across Ukraine. What do you have to say about this onslaught?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a sad story, especially when human lives are being wasted. But you look at the analysis of issues. Big Russia versus small Ukraine. The idea of the Russian president, first of all, we're hearing from their analysis that he wasn't too happy when Gorbachev helped in the destruction of the Soviet Union and balkanize it with someone. So he feels that there must be a reunification of those states. Because if you look at Ukraine, for instance, most of the war armaments and gas issues were stationed in Ukraine from the Soviet Union era. So as far as Putin is concerned, that is his territory. And he wants to have access to those issues. Two is the fact that the Cold War between Russia and the West is also something that is very uncomfortable for him, because as far as he's concerned, the ability for the NATO forces and Western allies to get to these nations closer to Russia is a threat to Russia itself. He feels that his powers has been diminished and others. So he wants to make people establish that he has powers, he has the armaments, and also he wants to reclaim his territory, which he feels he has. Don't forget that before the present president of Ukraine came in, the former president was a close ally of Russia, and the people of Ukraine revolted against it. I think it was 2018 or so. There was this kind of war that Russia has to annex some places, and that's why that bridge was opened from Russia to Crimea, because it needed to have access to the things. And so you look at what is happening. Two, Russia never believed that Ukraine could put up so much resistance. You know, and I was meditating within myself as no wonder God said, when the people are united, it's difficult to defeat them. Ukrainians have come to say, look, we must defend our territory. It doesn't matter what it takes. We are ready to lay down our life and sacrifice. And so you are seeing that kind, and once you have that kind of enthusiasm with the people, then you are able. Because if there was fear being expressed on the various environments, the war would have been ended long ago. But then Russia is getting himself, because the nation is also becoming unsettled with him. There are a lot of people in Russia that are not too comfortable with what is happening. Some in the military, some in the civilians, who feel that this war was unnecessary in the first place, who feel that it's an unnecessary waste of resources and all, because the sanctions against Russia is affecting the common man. I think the problem with humanity is that big men don't feel the pain that the common man faces. Whether the average Russian eats or not, the president of Russia is settled. Whether you have gas or not, it's like in Nigeria. If you say there's no petrol anywhere, the convoy of the governors and the president, they move. And you're asking yourself, you don't have light, there's no darkness in Aso Rock. So he doesn't understand. So that's what the leadership of these nations are. Of course, what had happened to him now, first of all, he never believed that the Western group and the NATO can combine together. They feel that the world can always be divided. But today, they are more united than ever. And the unity has emboldened Ukraine and is winning some of these battles. That corridor of supply is the last that Putin would have ever expected, because that is the link from Russia straight to Crimea, where all supplies are made. And for you to have damaged that, it means the war is almost over for Russia. And he has to be as mad as he can. But again, he also feels that if he takes it on the military, nobody's going to say anything. You bomb the depot of everything. But he wants to make the people feel that the president of Ukraine is sacrificing the lives of the common man so that they can revolt again. So it's a war tactic that he's using. But unfortunately, they have made up their mind long ago that no matter what happens, we are going to defend, whether we die or not, we are going to defend this land. And that's where he is not understanding that this war is not something he can win, because you are not just fighting only Ukraine, you are fighting the NATO forces, because they are also threatened by reason of their proximity, because nobody knows when the nuclear button can be pressed by anybody who is angry. And so these are some of the only deterrent he has, that America has. So if you talk, the American can make money, but when and how? And the only boldness he has is that China is still siding him. But the distance between Russia and China is too far than the distance between China and America, China and NATO forces. So these are the dynamics. And until and unless the Russian president keep understanding that you don't need to kill everybody for you to be president of Russia, he may go on and go on. And at the end of the day, I'm sure that they could trigger an eternal revolt. Because we have heard some military forces talking about some things that are not complementary to him. And if he triggers a revolt, the war is on the other side.
All right. Thank you so much, Reverend, for the foundation you laid for this discussion. The damage of the bridge that Reverend talked about, that is the longest bridge in the world, over 11 billion US dollars, and that was Putin's project when Crimea was annexed. And now there is a damage to it, and the Ukrainians are like, happy about it. And when investigations were made by the Russian intelligence, they purported Ukrainian intelligence for being behind it. Is that enough for Putin to go berserk? Because he didn't hide it. He said, what we're doing to you right now is because of what you did to that bridge. Take it up from there, Honorable.
Yes, it's an allegation. Ukraine has not made any statements as to whether they destroyed that beautiful bridge. I've seen the photograph. Very beautiful bridge. It's not just a bridge for cars and lorries. It's also for the train. Yeah, and all that. And it's a war strategy. Let us agree, even as Ukraine has not owned up, let's agree right now that Ukraine did the damage. If that was the case, it means that Ukraine has a perfect war strategy. How? To cut off supplies of your enemies. And once the supplies are cut off, it's not like you're using a fire extinguisher on a burning substance. So once the supplies are gone, it's a case that is won already by Ukraine. And there is no way, even talking scripturally or eschatologically, that Russia in the Bible is the Magog, M-A-G-O-G. And Putin is like the Agog, or Gog, they call it. So those are scriptural.
Yeah.
So there is no way. Zelensky is of a Jewish extraction. So I see it beyond the...
Are you now bringing the Bible into this?
It's relevant. It's relevant.
All right.
It's relevant.
All right.
The Iran thing, I know that they are in the
scriptures.
They are out there. So what I see there is a snake whose head has been cut off, and the body still be moving up and down, thinking it's still alive. Why would you think that it was Ukraine that destroyed the bridge? It would have been a divine intervention.
Hold on, divine intervention. How?
It's possible.
How? We're talking about bombardment.
Yes, we have had series of wars in Bible times. That even God killed more than the Israelites did. There are interventions. Bloodletting, innocent persons are being killed. Just like what happened some days ago. You started bombing schools and bombing civilians altogether. That as we speak now, about 19 have died, and more than 100 sustained all manners of injuries. But don't you think, as a human being, that those lives that have been cut short, the blood will speak? I'm not being religious, I'm being factual here.
But it's like you're being religious. It's like you're being religious right now.
Yeah, as a basis, I need to draw inspiration from somewhere.
Okay.
to account for what I'm
To
saying.
buttress your point.
Yes. So what I'm saying in essence is Russia has not seen anything yet. Because as Reverend said just now, there will be a division in the camp to say, no, let's fight military against military. Why are you killing civilians? They are not armed. Early hours of the morning, started bombing everywhere. What did they do to you? They have their own children. They have their own families. So if we say let's fight, don't at Agbero fight. Especially at the ring road. You see two drivers fighting. The moment one overpowers the other one, the one that is overpowered takes the wheelspan and starts destroying the glass of the vehicle. You fight. The vehicles can't fight on their own. Two of you fight. So now you're attacking innocent persons, civilians. And let's not forget, Biden has said something. UN Secretary has said something. Secretary General, NATO Secretary General has said something. A lot of people have said something. They have expressed their displeasure. Because it's an existential threat to life. That's what Putin is doing. And in my first war crimes. Okay. People that didn't do anything, you are just attacking them over a bridge. Then you bomb their own bridge.
Okay.
Bridge for bridge.
Bridge for bridge.
Tooth for tooth. Eye for eye.
But they are saying that in the time of war, you don't do bridge for bridge, tooth for tooth. You strike anywhere it hurts the most. Anyway, talk about the loss of lives. Some lives were lost in the process of bombing that bridge. Talk about the road network and, of course, the rail network of the bridge. And talk about the explosion. Those lives, don't they matter?
Well, in wartime, casualty always occur. So it will not be unexpected to say, because somebody drove the vehicle. It's not the point. Some other things. Again, even in life, sacrifices are made for things to solve, for things to get to the point. Is whether those sacrifices were made for a worthy cause. The man, to me, who would have done that was trying to save a nation from the hands of an unruly enemy. The only thing he can do, because that becomes a flow of importing arms and ammunition into the country where citizens do not even have something to respond with. And so you see, that have also slowed down, whether you like it or not, that have slowed down the tempo of the movement. And like I said, the Russian man is angry because he's losing on every end. He never thought that the war would be on by now. As far as he was concerned, in a week, he would have overrun Ukraine and taken possession. But this is not as it goes. Don't also forget that he has been a war veteran. He's been the head of KGB and all of that. So he cannot imagine how he should be losing a battle to a comedian. The president of Ukraine is not a military man. But yet, he's commanding his troops in an effective manner. That should be something that should trick all of us. That you don't need to be a professional to do things in a manner that will be right. You need common sense. And that's what needs to be. First of all, the question is, of what basis did Russia do this premise to try to overrun the country? Out of fear. It is the fear that that the man wants to join NATO. And as far as he's concerned, a NATO base in his own backyard could be the end of his...
a threat to his national security.
But it's a threat to everybody.
Because America also refused a Russia-Cuba alliance in 1967. Don't forget that.
Well, you see, that was a war is on different ends. There are levels of... everybody reasons from his perspective. The reason why NATO and Americans are very much in favor of Ukraine is because it also helps them from distancing Russia from their environment. Because the moment Russia is very close to the NATO environment, they're not too sure what's going to happen. So everybody wants a distance. But it's when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. Russia is not basically, as of today, trying to fight Ukraine. They're trying to threaten and draw America into the war. It's also on a larger scale. By the time things are done, if he try to use the nuclear armament, the Americans will come in. Then the Chinese people are going to come in. Of course, you don't know whether the North Koreans are going to... So he's trying to draw a lot of persons so that he could be seen... See, when soldier fights a war, he went to die as a gallant soldier, not as a retreating soldier. And so that's exactly what he's doing. But it is foolishness on his part at this point to be killing innocent persons, civilians who have no business. Even his own, look at what he's doing in his own country, trying to do conscription for people who have no understanding, who have not even studied about warfare now, recruiting them to go and die. It shows to you that he's not reasoning. It shows to you that he's too desperate and there's an ego-driven thought, not for the common good of everybody, not for the security and safety of Russians as a problem, but for his own ego, to say, I, Putin, a KGB leader, cannot win a comedian. And you see, and to me, I keep looking at that thing. That shows to you that nobody should think he's too powerful, a human being that cannot be humbled.
Okay, now when I started examples of lives lost during the bombardment of the bridge, both of you said it's casualty of war. And now the life lost also in the University of Ukraine. You are saying that it's like, a war crime. How can you relate these two? I mean, lives were lost for crying out loud.
How many people died?
So why would you say the one on the bridge is casualty of war and the one in universities in Ukraine is a war crime? How would you justify that?
The one on the bridge was trying to prevent casualties.
By losing?
No, you can lose two. If that bridge is sustained, then the armaments flow into Ukraine. Because when those armaments are flowing into Ukraine, they are not going there for demonstration. They are going there for the kill. Russia threw missiles into environments that are not offensive to you. They have nothing to do with you. They are just killing innocent citizens for nothing. So that's what we're saying. There's a difference in the two.
Okay, now you just said, and I want to go for a break. We'll return. We'll continue with this discussion. Don't go away. If you just joined us, this is International Forum. Thank you so much for staying tuned. It's a live studio. And of course, just joining us right now is a lecturer from UNIBEN. He's a political analyst. We talk about history. When we talk about, giving us international antecedents, he's a right plug, the short plug, so to speak. Join me to welcome, I like to call him Comrade Felix Osareme. Welcome to International Forum. I appreciate your coming.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Good afternoon.
I believe you're watching and listening to what a Reverend and of course Honorable talking about the Ukraine-Russia war, and of course I'm trying to justify the reactions to the bombardment of the bridge, and of course the onslaught of Russia against various cities in Ukraine. From what they said, it's like cutting off supply. In a way, they're justifying what Ukraine did to that bridge, and of course condemning what the Russians are doing to various cities in Kiev. What's your angle?
Well, there is this old saying that all is fair in love and in war. This is a war situation, so I do not want to believe that we should allow emotions to actually guide our analysis. First, the Ukrainians have not admitted that they bombed the bridge. They have not laid any claim. The Russians are believing that it is the Ukrainians that bombed the bridge. And as a response, Russia has launched a barrage of missile attacks on different cities and even civilian targets in Ukraine. In fact, as of this morning, one of the Russian ambassadors actually explained that they should not take Russia's tolerance for weakness. And Putin has sent a very strong message that they should expect more severe action from Russia. But again, you must look at it as it is, not as you think it is. And what is the situation here? The bridge in Crimea has been bombed. Nobody has owned up. Russia is responding. Already there was a war situation since 24th of February when Russia started what they call special military operation in Ukraine. A lot of things have been happening. Lives have been lost on both sides. And there is this thing we must understand. We look at statistics as figures. You say, okay, 12 soldiers were killed, 50 civilians. These are human beings that are dying by the day. No matter how we say it, lives are being lost, infrastructure destroyed on a magnitude that is shocking. And the greatest humanitarian crisis in the history of Europe in recent time is ongoing. Russia is not relenting. the Ukrainians are not backing down. So it's a disaster that is developing, and it's not going to end overnight. So if we are saying who is responsible, we cannot find out right now. Yet there will be response from both parties. And the Ukrainians are also making claims that they are rolling back the Russian effort in the southern part of the country. In fact, the reports that we are getting is actually that many of the Russians are even beginning to abandon their positions and make a run for it. That is why Putin was thinking of calling up the reservists in Russia. This is a very difficult situation. Onset of this military action, we did say, I think in this program previously, that this is a conventional war. So it will not be easy for Russia to win this war. And that is what is going on now. Look at the situation that is developing. United States, the EU, NATO, and some specific countries are giving Ukraine hardware.
Backends, yeah.
Good hardware. For example, the Ukrainians have Stinger and this other very funny missile, Javelin missiles. These are precision weapons. And you can carry them on your back. It means no matter how powerful Russian tanks are, one man well positioned can bring down a convoy of tanks. And there was a video that trended last week. You could see the barrage of attacks. A convoy of Russian tanks were decimated, effortless. This was early in the morning. I was wondering what they were, until I read the outline, they were using Javelin missiles. Ukraine doesn't have. America has given Ukraine over 8,500 Javelin missiles, and they've given them almost 5,000 Stinger missiles. And these are precision equipment that do not miss their mark. They use infrared, they use sensor, they use computer-guided systems. So how do you expect that somebody that is getting this kind of support will lose immediately? That is why Russia is tightening the noose. Because you are fighting with someone who you are supposed to be compressing. People are giving the person food. The person is getting strong and stronger by the day. So you now have to deploy more action.
Severe action.
To at least contain it. The condemnation is informed, but it does not change the fact that Russia will not back down. And there is this anticipation. Oh, so people have been claiming me. Will they go nuclear? And of course, we all know that that will not happen. And why will it not happen? Because this is power politics. And this is what we call, two positions are here now. There is brinkmanship. You have looked to the abyss, you are ready to call their bluff. Then there is end game. In end game, you are ready to go all out to destroy everything. And after the development of nuclear weapons started from 1949, when Russia launched successfully, because the Americans started by 45, the Russians caught up by 47, and by 49, they were capable. A new concept came up in international relations known as mutually assured destruction. This is followed by the, okay, it's following from the perspective of second strike capability. Meaning, if you have nuclear warheads and you launch, even if you succeed in launching, there is no problem. Wherever they are going to, the other party is also equipped. The person can also launch his own. At least that's what they'll be showing in this movie, Armageddon, and this Terminator series. Okay, so it therefore means that those who can get to the bunker in good time, like the American president, the Russian president, they are the ones that will survive. We in this part of the world, we become cannon fodder. We are laughing about it, but it's the reality. So, because there's no likely survivor. Nuclear Holocaust. So that is why, because of that concept of mutually assured destruction, WMDs, weapons of mass destruction, cannot be used in conventional war.
Okay.
That's where we are today.
I will come back to you. Now let's take a look at the statement made by a Russian foreign minister. He said, look, don't take, how would I put it now?
He said they were kind.
They were kind.
For weakness.
They forbear. They were enjoying what you were doing. Don't take it as a weakness. And of course, they choose to prove it to them by targeting some of their cities. Precise targeting, bombardment. I think that is a strong enough message to the Ukrainians that Russians do have a plan. That if they want to take out Kiev, they can do it.
Yeah, and I'm sure you want to stop me when I say that statement is from the pit of hell. That was a wicked comment or statement, or a wicked position.
He said that they're just being kind.
Yes, it's wickedness. in his highest
No,
order.
no. I think let me clarify.
help me.
No.
I'm not disputing what he's
He
saying.
has the floor.
I'm saying,
Yes.
no, the language. You see, there's language of diplomacy.
Diplomacy.
And in diplomatic engagement, there are some terms you use. He is not saying they're actually being kind in a moral term. He's saying that they are
don't want to
also
go all
playing
out.
their capacity.
Okay,
So
go,
there is
okay.
a restraint.
All right, so go ahead now, Honorable. He says on the pit of hell.
Yeah, comrade, diplomacy is not needed right now. You can use any language. As the fight started,
Yes.
and we now observed that Ukraine, Reverend has laid the foundation. He just did the German floor. That approach that Putin initially had in mind was to just scare them a little bit. Not knowing Ukraine will have this massive backing from higher authorities, so to speak. So the war now, I'm sure Putin is tired. He's tired because at his own front, things are not going well as he expected. What would have been expecting from the other Russians would be, they applauded him. Oh, go ahead. But some persons are resisting it. By their comments, by their gestures, they are showing to the Russian president that we told you that this war, we should know when to start it. And we also know when to end it. This war would have ended much earlier before now. But it's prolonging by you showcasing your ego before the world, and it's not helping the people of Russia. And there's no way the Russian president will so fortify himself that he will not still die one day. And he should have thought of it as a wise person, that what I was thinking, to just shake the Ukrainians a little bit, the shaking did not shake. So you let go. You should know when to stop. So now that you are not stopping, and that voice is saying, we have not seen our worst yet. That's a defeatist statement. What would be worse than shooting at civilians? What would be worse than that? You fight military against military, then let's see how strong you are. You are fighting unharmed civilians, going about their lawful duties. They will still say you have not started yet. Are you going to destroy the trees or the animals in the river? Or is that what you want to do? So what I see about Russia right now, they are going to be like a place that will become desolate. I'm not prophesying. Because a lot of nations have agreed. The worst part of it is Belarus.
Belarus, yes.
Yeah, because like, as I said earlier, before we started this program, you say all animals with horns should come out. Then the snake also came out with its tentacles.
Well, it looks like a horn.
It looks like a horn. But now Belarus is dependent on Russia in terms of economy, politics, and even military support. And it was that country too that they launched the attack in February. It was February this year.
Yes.
That they used that as a base. And I don't know why they are involved in this matter.
Okay.
All right, can we
all right.
do some clarification?
Hold on. Just hold on. You get to your turn. Well, he talked about Belarus. You want to say emotions? Okay. So Reverend, you heard Honorable Frank. He talked about the statement being from the pitch of hell. Don't forget at the beginning of this, when the Russians were pulling back, people were like saying that they're running away. But with this strike, I don't think is like that comment by the secretary is all really Putin had in mind. Let's leave the capital, let's take what we can, everybody go your way. Because the strike were precise. And Ukrainians, they are crying. Don't forget that this strike happened when Putin chose to change some of his generals and put Russian hard-line generals. And they took that step. Take it up from there.
You see, like I said earlier, no general wants to lose a war. And Putin is not even one of those generals that think twice. He believes in winning from his KGB background, which they do. Nobody disputes the fact from the beginning. Ukrainians have said it. That Russia has all the might to destroy Ukraine in one day with all the armaments. But the issue is, how do you do that? Russians also know that the world is also not looking away. And like I also said, the Europeans and all appreciate that if Ukraine falls, that war will not end there. There are other nations that, like I said, that were part of Soviet Union that are putting West back. And so if you allow one to go, the other ones are going. So they need to do what they need to do. But you see, when people make statements, everybody is making statements based on where they are. I wouldn't have expected anything less from a Russian diplomat because he believes that there's nothing that can happen to Russia, but that Russia can destroy everything. Okay. But just like our brother said just now, you don't know. My grandmother said to me, say, when you wake up in the morning and see a fowl pursuing you, say, don't think that it's foul. Because you don't know whether he put it last night. So you need to run. So Russia never estimated that Ukraine could respond like this because he looked at the armaments. They don't have what it takes to withstand them. He never knew that Europe could be so united. He never knew that America could spend so. He never knew that Germany, who depends on their gas, can support them. So what he didn't anticipate and what has happened that is breaking him to his knees. But a proud man will always do, whether he's going to die or not. Like I said earlier, no general wants to die in war. To run away. They prefer to die than to run away. So I believe that whatever he's doing now is just to, again, give him some measure of faith. Because some generals, even in Russian army, has criticized him. Some generals have been killed for this.
For mutiny.
So there are some of those things. So, and those who are now following him, no matter how bad a leader is, you see how people believe in him.
All right.
And that is what the situation is.
All right.
But we are praying that the innocent people in Ukraine should not just be killed for one man's ego. That's the point. What are you fighting the war for? What is all this? What the expansion is not about?
All right.
Russia is still as big as anything.
Okay.
They are still a world power. What else do you need? You want to conquer the people and give them anything? So I think the people should also be able to say, let us allow this person to lead. But I think the reason why he doesn't want, he wants to make sure that Ukraine does not join NATO.
Okay.
And they have joined. They are willing to join. And the fact is even making them more willing
to join NATO.
So we're not even agreeing with the president of Ukraine. We agree with him because they see that as an oppression.
Okay. Over now to you, Comrade Felix. You heard them drawing from what they both said. I believe you have so much to say.
Yes. The situation, as we are seeing it, can be looked at from many perspectives. First, there is the issue of ego, which my co-discussants have just mentioned. We cannot remove that one from state systems. But states are entities. They also react the way human beings react. So powerful states behave like very powerful men. And when powerful states are led by very powerful men who are intoxicated by power, this is the kind of situation you will likely experience. As I said at the beginning, I mentioned two perspectives. I said there is brinkmanship, there is endgame. Endgame, really, as we have said, is that you can flatten Ukraine. But it will not be possible in the modern context of reality that you wake up and exterminate a whole country. First, you are supposed to go through, you declare war formally, then there must be combatant action on both sides, then you overrun the forces, maybe you now levy one claim against them that they were trying to come and assassinate your president. You need to build up your case. And if you have not built up your case, it's not going to be possible to just exterminate everybody. Secondly, the Ukrainian nationalistic spirit cannot be doused by any weapon of war. One, many of them have left the country as refugees. They are everywhere in the world now. They are looking back at Russia. Even if Russia succeeds in closing Ukraine and swallowing everybody there, Russia has a bigger fight ahead of her in the future. There's another perspective we should look at. Russians and Ukrainians are one naturally. They speak the same language. In fact, Zelensky's name is the same as Putin's name. Volodymyr and Vladimir are the same. They were once one. Historically, Ukraine was even the part ruling Russia at a time.
Yes.
So we cannot exercise those ties overnight. No matter what Putin is proving, he's proving modern power, technology, weaponry. We agree with all those things. But it will not change the fact that he will not come out tops. That's why I said endgame is the only solution, which is he goes nuclear and the whole world will die with him. But he doesn't also want to die because even if he's also in exterminating the whole world, what will he now preside over? Nothing. So that's the challenge for him. Then let's move further to the issue of how nations are seeing this conflict. Russia came out too early with their strongest weapons, launching attacks from different sides. You should have done that. Remember, before now, there was the issue of Crimea, the annexation. There was also the issue of Donetsk and Luhansk. The breakaway regions. It would have just gone prosy. All you need to do, empower them very well. They will become a perpetual irritant to Ukraine. That the world will now start begging Putin, okay, you call those your attack dogs to order. But he came out all himself. And when a big man enters the fighting ring with a child, even though you put the child down, repeatedly with slaps and kicks and everything, but the child escapes, turns at you, throws maybe sachet water at you, gets mud, sling mud on your skin, you are becoming involved. That is why people say it in African wisdom that when you enter into a fight with a pig, get ready to get stained. Meanwhile, the pig likes mud. And you don't
in this contest now, who's the pig?
No, the underdog in this matter is Ukraine.
It's Ukraine.
But Russia has gone too far. Now, you see, there's also this thing we must wonder about. Propaganda is a very strong weapon of war. Whether we accept or not, the diplomats on the side of Russia will always speak for their country. They know that in reality they are not doing well, but they will not say they are not doing well. Then let's go back to the issue of propaganda. As this matter is developing, there's this underdog syndrome that will always come up. Most, and no matter how powerful you are, when you are beating someone mercilessly, even those that supported your leaders will say, okay, you are beating the person enough, leave the person. It's enough. You will know when to retreat. That's why you must exercise restraint. That is why most times when there is conflict, you see third parties coming to say, okay, separate. We know you have been beaten. It's all right. You have tried. Okay. He who fires and runs away leads to fight another day. You can't just end it all in one swoop. And that's where Russia has missed the argument. Because Putin is facing a dilemma right now. How far will he go with Ukraine? And once you start targeting civilian facilities, as it is happening today, the entire scenario has changed. Oh, you said it was a special military action. These are civilians. These are children in playgrounds. These are women in shopping malls. What did they do to you?
And he said he will continue with it.
You want to break their morale. That is true. But you are actually strengthening them more. It would have been easier to just target all of Ukraine's military facilities, which he has capacity to do, and use precision weapons. You can use continental ballistic. He has even used the hypersonic missile, the dreaded hypersonic missile. Putin deployed it in this war. And Americans are smiling in the background because they are watching, oh, this is the area of power that you can deploy. Fine. Let's see how far he will go. So they are goading him, taunting him. And the big Russian bear is grumbling, running up and down. And funny thing is that at times the bear gets into a muck and gets stuck in the muck. That's where Putin is today. So even though they would say it's a tactical retreat they did so that they will bring out the Ukrainians from their hiding holes, it has not even paid off. So the thing is a big disaster in the long run. Just the way America got bogged down in Vietnam. And had to pull out in disgrace, Putin has created his own Vietnam.
All right.
And right by his backyard in Ukraine.
All right. Honorable, you're going to have the last line on this discussion because our time is up. Looking at the time right now, what do you think is the end game? We can talk about the end game, and of course, before the end game, there are other points that Putin would have exploited.
Yes, if we can agree and resolve our move emotion, on the background that Russia, through Putin, should apologize to Ukraine.
Should apologize to Ukraine.
Yes. If the ego will not allow him, he should drop the ego and apologize. Because the way it's going now, UN is not happy with Russia right now. They are accusing him that there are a lot of war crimes being committed. So at the end of the day, what have you won? Nothing. So Russia should step aside to allow peace to reign. If it does not, whatever consequences that will arise, it should be ready to bear it.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Well, you've heard them would have gone further than this, but our time is up. But believe you me, both countries are bleeding. Europe is bleeding. The world is bleeding because of this Russian-Ukraine crisis. Putin, he said the onslaught will continue because they attacked a territory of Russia vis-a-vis Crimea. The big question now is Crimea really part of Russia? What about the referendum that really ceded these countries or these states to Mother Russia. Are those countries or states legally part of Russia? Is Putin going too far with his antics, with his style in trying to get to the end of this war? Was it the beginning of the end of the war, or an escalation of the whole situation? These other countries now taking side: China, North Korea, Iran, you just name it, US, NATO, South Korea. Nobody wants a world war. We believe that this can resolve peacefully. Once more, gentlemen, appreciate you. Let's see how all this will pan out. See you next week, Tuesday, God willing, on International Forum. Bye for now.